Hi, my name is Krista Daniels. I'm a naturalist with the Elkhart County Parks, and we're out here in the park on this beautiful spring morning going to teach you a little bit about our next letter, which is letter G in our Nature A to Z series. We're going to highlight a plant called garlic mustard. Now, in a bit, we're going to learn about why garlic mustard is here, why we don't want it to be here, and what you can do to help get rid of it. All right, let's start with a little hike and show you just what we're talking about here, because here in late March, the plant looks very different than it will look in about a month. But we'll go through that and its life cycle. But what we're looking for is a small rosette, or kind of a cluster of green leaves, even this time of year, that are on the forest floor. And then we'll look at what it turns into later in the year. So let's go for a short little hike and we'll show you what we're talking about. We are here right at the edge of the woods, and as you can see, it is early spring. No leaves on the trees yet. Not much growing at the bottom, at least nothing green, until you look closer. So let's take a little walk into the woods and see if we can't find some of these garlic mustard plants that like to show up real early, which is a characteristic of invasive species, one that we see quite a few of here. Here we go. See this green cluster? That's what we're looking for, garlic mustard. Garlic mustard has a very distinctive shape to its leaf. Can you see it's sort of a kidney type shape, almost a heart shape? And look at those veins on the leaf as well. One other thing you might look for is, can you see the purplish stem down here at the bottom? There has some pubescence, or little hairs along the stems itself as well. Garlic mustard is an invasive flowering plant that's in the mustard family, hence the name garlic mustard. It gets the garlic part because it has a garlicky smell when the leaves are crushed. It is a biennial plant, meaning that it has a 2-year life cycle. What we see here is definitely the start of its second year. When we see this rosette in the early spring, like we're in now, this means that this plant has already been growing for a full growing season and now is heading into the second year. In late spring, so maybe the end of May into early June, this will grow into a plant that has more arrow-shaped leaves, like you can see in this picture, and it will then flower. It gets up to about 3 feet tall. The flowers are small with white petals arranged in groups of 4 that look kind of like the shape of a cross. Once they go through that part of their life cycle, they then will develop into seed pods. Each of the seed pods will then contain about 16 seeds, making each garlic mustard plant able to produce on average about 600 seeds. When these seed pods are ripe, they then are forcibly ejected in several feet away from the original plant, and they can stay viable or able to sprout for up to 5 years. So garlic mustard is an exotic invasive species. Exotic meaning it doesn't come from around here. It was actually introduced into the United States in the mid-1800s. Intentionally, it was brought here and grown as a medicinal and edible herb. It was also thought to have been introduced as good erosion control because of its growth patterns. It can kind of hold the soil in, which there are many benefits to erosion control, but we have much better options that are native and helpful to the landscape and the ecosystem than garlic mustard is. Now, there's 3 main reasons why it's considered invasive. Number 1 reason is because there are no natural controls. In Europe, where it is found, and in Asia, there are over 70 different caterpillars that feed on this plant. Here, there are very, very few that once they take a bite, they'll bite it again. And so very, very few controls here, making it invasive and easily spread. Number 2 reason why it's considered invasive is because it's this incredible seed production. I told you before that each plant can produce up to 600 seeds per plant. That's amazing. But also it's devastating to our landscape when it outcompetes, outgrows, and outlasts many of our native species. And number 3 is what is happening underneath the ground, below the plant. The plant has this long taproot, similar to a dandelion, which helps it to be able to reach nutrients and water in ways that other plant species can't. But this taproot of the garlic mustard has little buds along the edges, allowing it to continue to grow even when broken, a little piece of it left in. It can grow a whole new plant and start the cycle all over again, making it, again, very hard to control, hard to eliminate. Another thing that it does below the soil is that it excretes chemicals that prevent the growth of other plants. Sometimes it does it directly, but sometimes it's indirect. What I mean by that is that sometimes it will prevent the fungi, the helpful fungi that tree species, our native tree species, rely on to grow in that soil. It prevents the growth of those fungi and doesn't allow the tree species to grow. So another reason why we really want to get rid of it and don't like to see it in huge amounts here in our woods. One of the absolute most effective and best ways to get rid of this plant is to manually pull it. And you do that, it's best to do it before it goes to seed. If it goes to seed, then all you're doing with that manual pulling is actually spreading the seeds, helping to spread them. So best time to do it is when you see them in flower, before they have any seed pods at all, or before that. You can catch it in this rosette shape as we've seen it this morning, and you can pull it out. Now, you want to make sure that you get the whole taproot. Okay, so I'm going to show you here best technique and then tell you what to do with it once you've pulled it. So now that we know what it looks like, often if you look around, you'll notice even more. So when you find a good plant like this, what you're going to try to do is get all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to pull it out as best you can. Now, what you see here is the entire root system. Now, because the ground is somewhat damp and moist, I was able to get most of it out, which is ideal. Now, instead of me dropping this onto the ground, I actually need to throw it away. Put it into a garbage bag, actually throw it away, because remember I mentioned there's little buds along the edge of the taproot here, this long central root. Those little buds can grow into a new plant, and we definitely don't want that. So one best way is to pull it, just like I did right there. Well, I hope you've learned a lot about garlic mustard, about what it is, why we don't want it here, where it came from, and how you can help us get rid of it. We do hope that you'll join us at one of our upcoming volunteer work days where we're going to do some garlic mustard pulling. And we also hope that you'll stay tuned to our Facebook page where we're going to show you some recipes, because garlic mustard is edible. It was introduced as an herb, which means it is totally edible, and it's actually delicious. So another great way to assist in getting rid of it is to eat it. So stay tuned to our Facebook page, and we hope to see you at other letters in the upcoming series.